So I definitely learnt from last year, where I decided to travel up the day I was talking. There were train delays, I think a lorry crashed into a bridge, and I ended up being very overwhelmed, very overexcited, over-nervous when I gave my first talk, and it really made me feel like I did not perform very well in my talk. So this year I decided to travel up the day before, make sure I got there in time, and then I had the day to wander around and see people before my talk happened at 4, and then I travelled home the next day. So that worked so much better. I definitely learned from my mistakes. Rain. So I'm really, really grateful that I was invited back for a second year in a row as an invited speaker for the Analogue Showcase, as it's called this year. Last year it was called the Analogue Spotlight, but obviously we have taken that name, having been inspired from that, to create our own events. So last year was the first time that we'd ever had a dedicated space at the photography show. This year there were so many more businesses with bigger stalls selling. There was also people like Camera Rescue who were there with their Cambulance. And I managed to get my hands on one of these amazing totes from Camera Rescue. So there's a Paris on one side and 10 pair on the other. Russell. So it was just so nice to see such a bigger range of people from the analogue industry being represented at the show. There was Solican, Analogue Wonderland, Ilford, all with big stalls of their own. And then, of course, there were the pods as well, and our speaker stage. There was Rachel from Little Vintage Photography doing cyanotype workshops. This is Rachel's cyanotype kit that she makes for, well, basically anyone, but I think this is absolutely perfect for using with kids, and that's what I want to have a go at it with. Cyanotype was one of the projects that I really wanted to have a go at this year. It was on my video where I mentioned some of the goals that I have for 2022, but it was the one that I thought I wasn't going to get round to because I don't have cyanotype chemicals here. Of course, I bought something that requires the sun as we head into winter, but watch out for an upcoming video. I've actually got a couple planned with Rachel, so I'm going to do this one, testing out her cyanotype kit with my kids. Okay, it's day 2. I'm about to head over to the NEC from my hotel. I'm going to be checking out, and from the NEC I'm going to be travelling home on the train at lunchtime. I just wanted to check in though, because I wanted to talk about the fact that I feel so emotionally drained right now. Now, I have to concede that I don't sleep well in new places, so I didn't get very much sleep last night, and I didn't get very much sleep the night before, so I do feel very tired. We also went out last night for a drink after the show. Stall holders and some of the guests and some of the speakers. But I only had one drink, so let's put that into context. I only had one gin and tonic. But yeah, it is very visually overstimulating, and it's noisy, and there's a lot of people, and I'm one of those people that gets quite overwhelmed by it all. Adding to that, the nerves. I feel much less nervous this year giving my talk than I did last year. Last year I was a bundle of nerves. But it is still a nerve-wracking thing to do. You're still putting yourself out there in front of a crowd of people. And so I was sat having my breakfast this morning and I could feel like tears welling up. I was getting really emotional. And I think it's just because I feel quite overwhelmed by it. It's quite a lot to take in. And I think I'm just one of those people that gets very overwhelmed with these sorts of things. So I just wanted to put that out there. Just wanted to let other people know, because I did talk to some people yesterday who felt the same way. They felt the overwhelm of it, and I know I'm not the only one, but I just thought I'd mention it.
So we're a 35mm film camera shop and repair service.
I wanted to talk about the range of talks that were there. So I was very much expecting it to be primarily practical talks. It was more like a 50-50 ratio of like these practical talks with more sort of philosophical, more personal talks. For example, the talk even before mine was one called Mental Collodion by Simon Rydell, which was so awe-inspiring, just the stuff he's come through and the way in which he then portrays other people's mental health through the use of photography. Just incredible. His talk was amazing. Another one which I was really lucky to see was Alex Heron's Breadth talk about her project photographing those with autism. I found it really inspiring to hear her talk about the practicalities of being autistic as a photographer shooting autistic subjects. That was just something you don't really think about, and just the whole thing was just pretty phenomenal, really. So my talk was sort of a halfway point between a practical discussion and a more philosophical, personal standpoint discussion. So mine was on experimental and creative photography. If you have watched many of my videos on this channel, you'll know that that's basically all I talk about on here. But the idea being just to have fun, just to let your hair down, just try things out and see where it gets you. I did the same talk last year and it was really well attended. It was really quite popular, so I was invited back to speak on the same thing if I wanted to. They gave me the option if I wanted to talk on something else, but it went so well last year that I thought, well, why change a good thing? People clearly like the subject matter, the idea of getting a bit creative. I just updated it for all the things that I've done this year since I last gave the speech, and also corrected some things that I felt could be improved upon. And again, it went down really well this year. I really enjoyed doing it. One of the talks that I attended was the solar can talk from Sam. Actually ended up being really inspiring. So obviously he did talk about what the product is, but he also shared quite a lot of examples from the community, and in particular some really amazing experiments that have gone on. There's even one gentleman who used the solar can and submitted the result to the astrophotographer of the year or something, and won a prize. Like, he was one of the finalists, which I just think is amazing. So the first thing I bought, and this was before Sam's talk, was I purchased the puck. So something that you might not know about me yet is that I have decided to go to university. I'm feeling so inspired to shoot this next year on film and to experiment, and I'm just feeling renewed enthusiasm for the actual act of shooting rather than just the darkroom work. But I saw the puck and I thought, I didn't know whether to go for the puck or the solar can, but I quite liked the idea of the puck with the week-long exposures. But yeah, I was so inspired by Sam's talk that I then went and purchased the solar can as well, because he's inspired me to take on a project. It's going to have to be next year. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to purchase one to do a test round with.
Right, any moment now. Okay. Yeah, keep really, really still.
So if you've watched many of my videos, you will know that I use the pixelator to scan my negatives, and because I've been scanning my grandmother-in-law's collection from her late husband, there were a couple of inserts I wanted to get from Hamish to add to my pixelator. So we've got the slide adapter. This one allows you to scan mounted slides easily, and then I've also got the 110 insert, so this is going to come in handy for some of my own 110 images, but mostly for the ones that I have from my grandmother-in-law. I took advantage of some of the deals going on at Ilford. So I've used Kentmere to make contact sheets, but I've never made prints on Kentmere, so I wanted to have a go with just one of their small packs, just to see if the more economical version of their paper, because I do love the Ilford one, I just want to see if the more economical version lives up to what I want from it and will therefore be a more economically viable choice for me. Now, this was not a purchase, but they were giving out these photography zines on the Ilford stand, which is Legends of Skateboarding, which I think both I will enjoy and my husband, as he was a big skateboarder. I am quite excited to take a look at this. Oh yeah, and a new sticker, which obviously was free, but that's being added to my collection. Because I'm going back to university, I have a lanyard for my student card, and I have been sent some pins to put in it that sort of denote different things that I'm going to be involved in there. So I wanted to add some of my own, and so I got one of the classic Analogue Wonderland ones. Hello Darkroom, my old friend, my favourite one. So all in all, I've come away so inspired. I'm just feeling absolutely brilliant about getting out and shooting. I'm really excited about this upcoming year. For me, September feels like the new year. And the photography show has certainly helped with that because of just all the projects that I now want to undertake. And of course, I'm now a student, so technically September is my new year. It's my new academic year. But this always feels like more of a new year to me, and it always has done, than January. I'm really excited. See you soon.